Welcome to another beginner-friendly acrylic painting. Today we're going to paint a Matisse-inspired landscape. So let's get started. Here are the three colors that we always use: phthalo blue, quinacridone magenta, and benzimidazzolone yellow. We'll also have some titanium white, and we may have a little glazing liquid to keep things wet and workable. I'm going to sketch in our composition with a paint pen. This will just help us be organized. We're going to have some flowers down here, one hill like this, another one coming up like that, one more like this, and a third or final hill in the background here. We'll also have a tree that comes up like this. We'll just put that in like that. That just gives us a road map. I'm going to start with the sky, and I'm going to use a number 8 brush. I'm going to dip it in the water and then wipe it off. Let's make a turquoise sky. Titanium white, tiny bit of phthalo blue, and just a tiny bit of benzimidazzolone that will give us a nice turquoise. Let's make it just a tiny bit more blue. Be careful with that phthalo blue, it's really, really strong. I'm going to make it a little bit lighter too. There we go. That's a good color. Let's just put our sky right in. I'm going to come right over that area where the tree is going to be, because we're going to want a little bit of that sky to show through behind our tree. So make sure that your sky covers the entire top portion. I'm going to add a little bit of titanium white to that. There we go. Our sky is done. Wipe my brush. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a purple for our farthest away hill here. And I'm going to go right into this color that I made. So everything is going to kind of have that color in it. So that is going to be a little quin magenta and a tiny bit of phthalo blue. That'll give us a purple. I'm going to put some titanium white into that. We'll just put that down here. I'm going to put a tiny bit of glazing liquid in that just to keep it workable. Just dip my brush right there. And actually, you know what? Let's make some more of that. And I want it a little bit lighter anyways, so I'll just add some titanium white. And that's more the color that I had in mind right there. You can just mix your colors right on the canvas. You don't have to mix them on the palette. And since this is Matisse inspired, we're going to be looking at using bright color, really brilliant color, pinks, purples, bright greens, things like that. He loved bright color. Okay, that's our first hill. I'm going to wipe my brush. Our second hill right here is going to be sort of unified, and it's going to have a little more red in it, a little more quin magenta, a little pinker. Put some titanium white into that. You see how I'm just staying in this one spot and mixing all my colors in this one spot. They'll all have harmony together. And you can see I'm painting right over the drawing that we made of the tree. That's fine. We're going to put that tree back in a little bit. Simple forms, bright color. That was one of the things that Matisse was known for. Okay, that's our second hill. Our third one, we're going to warm things up a little bit. I'm going to wipe my brush. Now I'm going to bring some Ben's yellow over here, quite a bit. I'm going to get kind of a warm orange going, golden yellow maybe. Let's have a little titanium white. And we get a really nice warm orangey yellow here. It'll be just great. Look at that. It goes right down. It's beautiful. The colors really work. I'm going to come down into this more complicated area that we've got here. That's going to be for our really fun flowers and things like that. We can come back over this warm color with another color when it's time to paint our flowers. But we've got three really nice areas of hills. Now I'm going to wipe my brush, not putting it in the water. I've got this orange going here and I want a kind of a muted green, so I'm going to take quite a bit of my Benzoin yellow and a tiny bit of my phthalo blue. And I've got this green, and because I'm mixing it right into that orangey yellow, it muted it down slightly, which is just what I want. So I'm going to pull this all back in here. This will serve as the background for our flowers and our bushes and things like that. It'll just be the background. So we just want some big shapes because we're going to come back on top of that and do some fun stuff. Okay. All right, that's just how hard that is. Now, if you've been following along in any of my other videos, you know what's going to happen next. We're going to take a 5-minute break for drying. So pause your video for 5 minutes and come back and we'll do layer number 2. You can put a cool hair dryer on your painting or put it in front of a fan. Just don't use any hot hair dryer on it, okay? That's not good for the paint. Come back in 5 minutes, pause your video, and we'll do layer number 2. Okay, we're back and now we're ready for layer number 2. Everything is nice and dry. So I'm going to put in our little flowers and trees and whatnot. We're going to start from the back and come forward. In the back here, we want a few little bushes and things way off in the distance. Let's make those purple. I'm going to start with a little bit of phthalo blue and a little bit of quin magenta. Make a dark purple. Add some titanium white to that. So I've got a kind of a nice dark purple here. You can see on my paper towel how nice that is, a beautiful color. So I want to make just some real small bushes and things way back in the distance. So if they're this far back, they're going to be really small, just along that ridge line there. Just really tapping with my brush, just the tip of my brush and tapping. Just making a little ridge line of trees that would be way off in the distance. You don't have to worry about leaves or limbs or trunks or anything like that because they're so small, they'll be way far off. We're going to do the whole ridge line up to about where our big tree is going to be. So up to about there, let's go like that. Just tapping the canvas with my paintbrush, just tapping it like that. So you can see way off in the distance, that looks like there are some trees on that ridge line. Okay, good enough. Now coming forward, we'll have some more. They're going to be a little bit redder. So I'm going to put more Quin Magenta into this and add a little bit of titanium white to it. Maybe a little bit more phthalo blue and a little bit more Quin Magenta. There we go. Now I know that bushes and trees and whatnot are not purple. Well, there are some that are purple, but we're painting in the style of Matisse, and he painted it whatever color he wanted. It didn't matter what the real color was. He painted it whatever color he wanted, and I'm fine with that. So we're going to tap again, but we're going to make our shapes a little bit bigger so that off in the distance that looks like a big tree. But of course they're closer than the other ones that we just did. And vary the sizes, vary the shapes, vary the spacing, but you're still just tapping with your brush. Nice organic shapes. Can leave a little air there. I say this every time we do trees, but trees are not solid objects. They have lots of air. So just tap. You can see that just looks like a nice grove of trees back there. We're going to fill this one up all the way to the edge. Great, we've got some nice trees. I'm going to make this one just a little taller. There we go. Nice trees off in the distance. Down here, we'll just have a couple of small ones. There we go. All right, that is our second set of trees there. We're going to do our flowers and everything here, the very last thing. So right now, I'm going to wash my brush, wipe it. I'm working with my number 8 throughout because it's a small canvas, only 6 by 6 inches. So now I'm going to put in this big tree that comes off to the side here. And I want that tree trunk to be a dark blue, almost purple. So I'm going to go right back into here. And let's pull that tree up like this, starting at the bottom and pulling up like this. Roll that brush. You get a nice organic tree trunk shape when you roll that brush. Let's come down here and make it a little bit thicker. There. It's just poking into the canvas from off the left-hand side. Now we're going to have a few thinner branches coming out, like so. Maybe one over here. A couple up here. There we go. That's the basis for our tree. Okay. Now, let's do the tree foliage. This is going to be really fun. I'm going to use my fan brush. These are all listed in your description. I'm going to use my fan brush and I'm going to go wild with color here because after all we are in Matisse land. So I'm going to start with some titanium white. And I like to load my brush and then pat it off over here. You can see it's got a little bit of purple in it already. Let's grab a little Quin Magenta. I've got a nice bright pink. There we go. And in the spirit of Matisse, we're going to have pink foliage on our tree. So here we go. Just using my fan brush, straight down. little more titanium white. Maybe it's a cherry blossom tree. I don't know. I always say I'm a painter, not a botanist. I don't know what kind of tree it is. It's the kind of tree I made. And that's the cool thing about being a painter. You can make any kind of tree you want. So I want a tiny bit of dark in that tree. So I'm going to come over here to my phthalo, tap it off. Let's have a little bit of dark there in some of these places. A little bit darker. Maybe use the side of my brush. A little bit up on the side up here. Now that I've got that phthalo blue on there, I can come back with some more titanium white, and I'll get a little bit, let's have a lot more titanium white. And I'll get a little bit of lavender, a little bit of purple. I'm going to put the side of my brush right into the titanium white. Tap it, and then just use the side of my brush. Okay, our tree looks pretty good. I'm going to wash that fan brush. Don't let the acrylic paint dry on your brushes. It is not good for your paintbrushes. Okay, I am going to paint some cool shapes down here. Some purples, some reds, and so on. And we are going to put in some really fun things with our paint pens. Okay. I'll just start with some simple lines. Put some shapes in. Wipe my brush. Got a little bit of purple on it. So I'm going to go to the Quin Magenta, titanium white, get a nice pink going. Let's get that a little bit lighter. Paint some shapes in here. Some more lines. Okay, now we really need to let this dry. So we are going to take a 5-minute break, pause your video, and when we come back, we'll do the very last finishing touches on our Matisse-inspired landscape. Okay, we're back, and this area is dry down here, so we can come in and put some more detail in with our paint pens. I really love using these Posca paint pens. So I'm going to come in and make sure my pen is working. And I'm just going to have some really cool shapes here. Now, paint pens are acrylic paint. So if you're using a light color like I am right now over the darker colors, you may have to do that twice. So let it dry and come back and do layer number 2. Just as if you were using regular acrylic paint, because that's what it is. It's regular acrylic paint, it's just in a paint pen. Okay, let's have another yellow one over here. And I am sure if Matisse had had paint pens, he would have used them. Definitely. Okay, let's go with an orange now. I'm going to have a nice orange here. And you see how those shapes behind are giving us a really nice place to work with our paint pen. If we were doing this on plain white canvas, it would not look this nice at all. Just be sure you do a second layer if you need to, because I will probably have to do a second layer on those yellow ones because it's a very light color coming over a darker color. So it really gives a lot of flavor to your painting. Okay, finally, let's have some teal. This one is a medium point, so I'm going to be doing a little bit more in the dot range with this one because it is a medium point, and you don't want to have big, thick lines. So I'm doing more like a dot type of flower. Let's have another one over here. And I think a little bit of dark purple too while we're at it. I don't want to draw over any of that wet paint pen. So I'll just use some dots. Okay, well, I think our Matisse-inspired landscape looks pretty good. This is dry now, so I just want to do a little touch-up to our tree, and I'm going to go right into the Quin Magenta. I want just a little bit darker action up there in the trees, so I'm going to give it a little bit of this. Just for a little bit more contrast. That pops our tree out a little bit more. Wipe my brush, get the titanium white, and just use the edge of my brush for a little bit of highlight. There we go. I think our tree looks pretty good now. You can come back and do a second layer on the light colored paint pens like I'm doing now. That's especially important if you're going over dark colors. So do that second layer so that your paint pen, your lighter colored paint pens, really cover. I'll do that with these two yellows. I think everything else is covering pretty well. But the yellow is always going to need two layers. There we go. Much better. Okay, that's our Matisse-inspired landscape, bright colors, simple forms. I hope you enjoyed that. Come back for the next beginner-friendly acrylic painting. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And remember what I always say, keep painting.